The rules are simple. We spin the wheel. Whatever it lands on, we play. And if it can hold my attention and chat's attention for a calendar hour, it's a winner. If it can't, it's a loser. With the exception that sometimes we play a game that like, oh, this is fun, it's a good game, but it doesn't have an hour's worth of content. Like the last thing we played, which again was Rip Pants at Work. Rip Pants at Work. Not bad, but it's like 15-20 minutes of like, oh, novelty. After that, terrible. Well, not terrible, you know what I mean, it's just like repetitive, boring. Anyway, we got 4 big slices, which feature a Mutant Storm in blue, the Beginner's Guide in purple, My Exercise in green, and in red, Headlander. And then you have all the bad slices, all the poo-poo pee-pee slices. Those are things that, oh my god, some of them might be okay. Some of them might be very, very bad. Usually they're bad. Like, the little tiny slices are like, fell off the back of a truck level. Anyway. Yeah, they call your doctor colors. Whoa! It landed on a big slice. That's a not horrible, like, the chances are this could be good. That's the Beginner's Guide, whatever that is. Alright, here we are, the Beginner's Guide. What the hell is it? Let's find out. Oh! Oh, God! Please make sure audio's on.
Hi there. Thank you very much for playing The Beginner's Guide.
Hello.
My name is Davey Reedon. I wrote The Stanley Parable, and while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011.
Why is it on a white screen?
We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda. Now, these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009.
You don't have sunglasses?
At a time when
Come
I was
on.
really struggling with some personal stuff. And his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off,
Squint through it, everybody,
I think
squint!
The first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment. But what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert
put on
town,
these glasses.
There you go.
Start eating that trash.
colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town.
I
and
also
instead
made a
this level
Counter-Strike
becomes
map
a kind
when
of
I was
calling card
younger.
from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this?
I liked
This
the
is what I
hammer
like about all of
level
Coda's
editor
games.
for the Source
I mean,
Engine one.
Not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is.
Yeah, I also live in the dark.
That's exactly what we're going to do here. So, it's 2008. Coda starts making these games, and
Shit, it's
he
2008?
never releases any of them. He doesn't put them onto the internet. He just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point, he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, you know, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day,
Well,
he
I
just
did crazy.
stopped. In
But only one
2011,
person has
that
access
was
to
it. He made his last game, and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together.
Only
It's
Abe
because
Clancy could
I
use the
find
garbage
these
day
games
commands.
powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda. So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at daveywreden@gmail.com. Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper game. As each game is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
I could show you the garbage day commands.
That's what I call
Oh.
hamburgers.
Whoa!
Whisper machine active. Shift destruction.
Okay, I don't even.
This game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
I got a gun. Oh, I'm out of bullets. I can't reload anymore.
Security call reached. Hostile alien life forms inbound.
It kinda looks like this game was abandoned mid-development. For instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere, but then clearly there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets. But ultimately, we don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. And I think that we should talk about his games for what they
now
are,
I'm stuck in here.
rather than for what they're not.
Oh, here we
I
go.
love how you can see the bottom of the universe from this room.
Well, yeah, there's the bottom of the universe. I could see why True Axiom likes this game.
Apparently, this space station has a labyrinth on it. Sure, I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it.
Oh, thank you. It's very pretentious.
Okay, this is the part that's interesting. The game has this narrative about the Whisper machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Hey, you there, in the engine room. You could save us all. That beam is powering the Whisper machine. We could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat signature. If your body could stop the beam.
I'm a heat signature?
So much to ask, but for all of our lives, would you do it? Could you give yourself?
Let me pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere, and this is what happens instead.
Whoa! Whoa! It's beautiful. I could see
The
everything.
beam causes you to start floating. And this is an important moment for him. Because yes, this is technically a glitch, but Coda identifies something human about it, like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system.
I've solved
Or
the
this
labyrinth.
floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse. I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain. He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind.
November 2008. It's different as a game developer. I kind of love this. Like, it's just the past was behind her. It's a documentary about just someone's little independent fan projects that they abandoned.
So try walking backwards.
Oh.
Yep. In this game, you can only walk backwards.
Oh. He was right to abandon this one. Are there a way for Oh, we could probably get captions, right? Full captions. I got you.
So it's a short
creator
and
Stanley
relatively
Parable.
minimalist experiment combining motion and narrative. It is less advanced than the previous game, but actually it seems to be more focused, more complete. Coda's trying to give it a unique voice rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing trope.
It becomes clearer. You don't like the Stanley Parable? Oh my god, the Stanley Parable's great. Prompt.
It's a short little thought, it says what it wants to say, and then it ends. Didn't need anything more than that. Which to me is why it works, because it gets out quick. Okay, next one.
I mean, one of my favorite college courses was a course on essentially like the emergent property of internet art and how stuff like Second Life, just like the garbage that people make out there, is important to them and has some artistic merit for a lot of people. And like the whole course was just exploring these weird little projects that people just left on the internet and were abandoned. Including like playing a lot of Second Life in class. That was a great course. But
And
I
that's
enjoy
it.
like
Okay,
Oh.
the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient
It's called
with me for a
Hypnospace
few more
Outlaw.
games, and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting. Oftentimes, Coda would put bizarre titles like this one at the start of his games. I wish I'd known him at the time that he was making these early games. He would really only talk to me about his work as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, like, that was it. It was dead to him. And I don't
Right in the
agree with
garbage.
that at all, but what are you gonna do?
that's too long a conversation to have for like the 90th time in my life.
Once you've been slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens. So why, if Coda's not showing these games to anyone, why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here so that when you press enter, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
Thank you. Stand on an X staring at a bear for 3 hours. A game of only motivational quotes. You must address and rally a group of
room
eager
that's
press
warm.
reporters.
And nice, and filled with little ideas for games.
You are the queen, dusting your jewelry while your kingdom's destroyed. Play as a pair of floating eyes emitting footstep noises.
Coda would often tell me that he didn't mind if people thought of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew that he was actually a vibrant and compassionate person, but that it takes time to really see that.
A key in
It
one
can be a
game
very slow climb to
unlocks a
get there.
door in a completely separate game. Levels of lavish manuals come with the game, giving you incorrect instructions on how to play. Ready, set, fish.
Well, this is new for Coda. It's an actual puzzle.
Whoa, whoa,
Go ahead
whoa,
and
that's
see
a
if you can
door.
solve it.
Did I solve it?
Don't forget that solution, because we're going to see this puzzle again soon. We're gonna
No, I
see it a
forgot.
lot.
Let's see him talk through Nier. Which one? Nier Automata or the first Nier? Which for me is always going to be Nier Replicant, because that's how I played.
So that seems to be it, right? You walk down a corridor, you solve a puzzle.
Yeah, if
you
you're
get
going
to
with
the
butts,
end.
that's
Simple
Automata.
enough. All right, now I'm going to modify the game again so that when you press enter, it'll remove all of the walls from this room.
Oh, sweet Jesus. The horror.
How about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it funny that this game comes after the
Oh,
Stairs
God!
game, since they
Oh,
essentially
sweet
convey the
God!
opposite idea. So, in the Stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior. And then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic outer world. Either way, I think that the point is the same, is that most of the
It's a
time you don't
Daggerfall
get to
dungeon.
know what you're missing, or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player. So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it?
If it had a tutorial dungeon. You are now exiting.
Aha. So, this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that Coda believes his games are connected somehow. It could even be that the stairs game and the puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game.
It's the Codaverse.
There's a bigger picture that all of his games are meant to play a role in, some larger meaning that we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them. And once we have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is.
Your suffering only makes the game all the sweeter. Okay.
Let's talk about video game development for a second.
Pay attention,
Every video
Gomper.
game runs on what's called an engine, which determines what the game can and cannot do. So in other words, the engine is a set of tools for game development. To make all of these games, Coda is using an engine called
Streetwise tool. Streetwise
Like all
fool.
engines, Source has certain things that it does well, and it has certain things that it does poorly. One of the things that it does very well is boxy linear corridors. That's why so many of Coda's games are set in these large, flat, empty rooms, is just because he's working with what the engine does well. The tools available to the creator shape what kinds of creative work they're going to end up making. You might consider paying attention to the architecture in Coda's games, to notice how they seem to stem from an engine that's very good at producing linear, boxy corridors.
Sleep well. Alright, safe for now. Oh, yes. But again, the part I like about it is that this guy was like, oh, you made video games? Yeah, you know, I never published any of them, and, you know, I have them all still. No one will ever play them. And he's like, I will make an interactive documentary about every video game you've ever not finished. That describes you!
This prison, funny enough, in Coda's original design, the doors stayed shut for a full hour before letting me go. If you don't mind, I think we're gonna skip that.
The ideas this guy had are all the best.
This is something that he and I used to argue about a lot. You know, whether a game ought to actually be playable, whether it means anything if no one can get through it. And I would always defend that, you know, all this work goes into the game, why not make it playable and accessible? And so we just got into heated arguments over it, and there was one time that after one of these conversations, he went home, and a day or two later, he sent me a zip file entitled Playable Games that was full of hundreds of individual games, each of which was just an empty box that you walked around in and nothing else. Believe me, I played every single one of those just to find out if there was like a gag hidden somewhere. There wasn't.
People got upset because they thought he stole the work.
It's the puzzle again, with the exact same solution as the last time.
How do I mail a digital game to Gomper?
There's still no clear indication of what makes this puzzle so special that Coda is going to return to it over and over. But I promise I'll share with you my interpretation very shortly.
So you know the full ins and outs of this one, Traxium. Did he make this and all the components, or did he actually have a buddy who he actually argued with and this is his friend's work? You've been warned.
Here, Coda begins using a kind of dialogue system that he fashioned out of the engine's chat capabilities. Use the 1, 2, 3 buttons on
All
your
fiction,
keyboard to
okay.
respond.
That's another layer to this now. You mean there is no Coda? He doesn't have a friend named Coda? Yes, there was an enormous prison I spent hours in. Did you go through the puzzle with 2 doors and switches? Yes, it was literally the last thing I did before I talked to you. Trust me, you don't want to go over there. Is that better or worse? It's better in that it probably makes Gomper more upset. Worse in that I kind of like the idea of someone just being like, I'm going to make an interactive documentary about the garbage you made in your bedroom on your computer. Like, again, I have a fondness for the repurposing of found art. There's a lot of fun videos in the world that utilize that kind of branch. So I would prefer if it were actually someone's garbage that he was doing this with. But again, also fun that it's him just using it as a springboard for this experience. I've been here the entire time. Stuff like this almost never goes to Jesus Christ. Usually it goes back to, like, what is a video game? What is important for a video game? What's ludonarrative dissonance in a video game? What happens if I solve it? Dawns on me that I'm covering up their text. You said the cursed word! Ludonarrative dissonance. I mean, with the time
So we
period
make
this
one
is
last
from.
descent, down to the final floor of the level.
Back in 2012, that was a big word. 1,000 angry game critics are gonna show up. Let them come. A video game to you is fun, but I thought you liked
I can't tell you quite why,
Fear
but
and Hunger.
For some reason,
That
Coda
game is
fixates
distinctly
on this
unfun
lamppost.
to play.
It's going to appear at the end of every single one of his games from here on out. I'll tell you what I think. I think that
What's
up to
going
this
on, Chris?
point,
Thank you for the
you know,
resubscription.
he's been making really strange and abstract games with no clear purpose, and maybe you can only float around in that headspace for so long. Because now he wants something to hold on to. He wants a reference point. He wants the work to be leading to something. He wants a destination, which is what this lamppost is. It's a destination. We're gonna see it in the work as well. His games are just gonna become a lot more cohesive, a lot more fully developed, with more of a clear idea behind them. And as we go, that idea will get clearer and clearer and clearer.
Man, it's masturbating for us and describing his thought process. Like, usually this is a conversation that comes up with movies more often, or books, but like, movies or books that are designed to like make you feel uncomfortable and upset and sad. Like, there's a large swath of people that cannot and will not engage with that media. They don't want to feel those negative emotions. My good buddy Andrew, that is his favorite thing. If he could find a movie that makes him feel awful, he's gonna have a great time. He loves watching movies that make him feel like shit. Interesting how this game hits people very differently in 2023. Oh my, that's such a tiny text. Nice room. Not. A regular weekday afternoon of masturbating.
So first off, I'm sure you can deduce this, but this game is not connected to the internet. All of the notes that you're gonna see have been written by Coda. This was
But now I know
the
it
first
wasn't.
game of his that I ever played. This was shortly after I met him at a weekend game jam in Sacramento, where I grew up. I saw him working on this very level, and it was just so different from anything that anyone else was doing. So right away I was like, I have to be friends with this person.
Yeah, the weather sucked recently. Everywhere.
In retrospect, I think I was probably a bit too pushy trying to get his attention. I was over enthusiastic. But he was
Oh my
very
God,
gracious
there's so
about
many
it
bubbles.
and very patient with me. And I cooled off eventually.
The medium is the message.
Oh, feel free to skip over any of these notes if they're not doing anything for you. Nothing extra is going to happen if you read all of them. Either way,
Throw myself
to
up
me
below,
they
you got
convey
it.
a sense of loneliness.
What?
I see this
Oh,
person
nope,
who's
visible
filled
wall.
with thoughts and feelings and beliefs and has no way to express them except as scattered and unheard voices in a game that wasn't meant to be played.
What about getting over it with Bennett Foddy, mighty Odin? That game's not fun. The whole point of that
But
game
it's
is
ironic,
suffering.
isn't it? That in playing this game and seeing how alone Coda often felt, that we get to know him better and actually kind of connect with him. And I have
Getting
to be
over
honest
it
with you,
with Bennett
this
Foddy?
idea is really seductive to me. That I could just play someone's game and see the voices
But
in
are
their
you
head
sure
and get
there's
to
an
know
achievement
them
for reading
better
all the
and have
notes?
to do less of the
We should go back, read all the
messy
notes.
in-person socializing. I could just get to know you through your work. I think this is why I always liked Coda's games so much.
I don't know if I would call
is
getting
because
over it a
felt like they
challenging
let me
game.
have that connection. I felt as though he was inviting me personally into his world.
Unless the challenge
And then I
is
feel less
a tiny
lonely, too.
mistake results in you having to redo like 2 hours of your life. Like that game's designed to frustrate. That's like the point. Even the text, the meta text of the game is just straight up like, "Ah, you fell down. Doesn't that suck?" Yeah, they're intentionally frustrating. But like that's the point. I am very excited for his next game. His next game looks good. I will play the hell out of that one. Just dirty man-child fumbling around. Yeah, Baby Steps. Baby Steps looks great. Baby Steps looks like the pinnacle of the Bennett Foddy experience. It's the culmination of getting over it, QWOP, and all the other nightmares. Just all
At the
glued
end of this
together into
level,
Baby
we're going to
Steps.
see the puzzle again. And here, I'll tell you what I think the puzzle means. Each of
How
these
is
games
Baby
represents
Steps?
an idea that was on Coda's mind at the time that he was making it. And the puzzle is a way of closing the door on a previous chapter of his life before moving on to the next one.
Downward, keep
In
digging.
each of his games, after exploring a theme that, he might find difficult, Coda can then place this puzzle that he knows has a reliable solution, he understands exactly
No,
how it
it's
works,
the fucking puzzle door.
and so it gives him a simple mechanism for moving on.
Does this puzzle have a solution? Oh my god, I've been here for literally an hour. What the fuck do I do? I just got here. What is this?
And because there's this dark area...
This is Gomper's
between
favorite
doors,
video game.
A space between spaces. Before you move on, you get to pause. Just for a moment. A few seconds to reflect on...
This is
and
called,
let go
Beginner's
of the
Guide.
events that led you here. To step back and connect the pieces together. To grasp at that elusive bigger picture.
See, I value fun in video games, but I don't necessarily have to, believe they need to be fun. Like, a video game can be an interactive narrative that isn't necessarily fun, but is engaging in some way. 2009, a fine vintage.
Okay, this
So-
one is tough. It's gonna kind of just spin its own wheels for a few minutes. Hang with it.
What was the reaction to this game when it first came out, Taraxi? Oh my god, it's the ring. Was this well received at the time, or were people as upset as as some people in chat right now? Coda, what do I do? There's a locked door. Oh? Makes me think of the Stanley Parable. This is made by the guy who made the Stanley Parable. He's the guy talking right now. Well, talking overall. It was mixed, but you can't discuss why it was mixed. Ah. How long until I get to the point where we could then talk about why it was mixed? Well, now I'm in the well.
This is it. The whole game. And there's nothing that's
the writer of the
particularly
Stanley
interesting
Parable.
about it. You just walk to the end of a hallway. Except, for some reason, Coda gets really fixated on this prison that has all of this modern furniture. And I don't know why, but he decides he needs to revisit this prison. He's gonna start over, use the same assets, turn it into something else. Okay, cool. Here's version 2.
Like the voice of that narrator better? Oh, what furniture ought to go in the center of the room? How about a TV with surround sound? That's not a TV with surround sound. Oh, it's the white screens that make you angry. That's fair. Alright, what about along the wall? 10 stoves lined up against the wall. That's a couch! You're not taking any of my considerations. Let's light up this room. I'm thinking a Tesla coil in each corner. That's one lamp! What about a table? Tables were invented in 1935. Give us some of the pain, Jeeves. Thank you, Jeeves.
There's a bit more to this one, but still, it's not really communicating anything. It's kind of just weird for weirdness' sake. So, okay,
It's smart.
he throws it out and starts
That squish
over.
works smart.
This time he comes at the prison idea from a different direction.
Oh. Ah. See, you gotta have the glasses. Exclamation mark glasses. First, click on this table. Take the shot. Exclamation mark flashbang. Come on! I'm trying to do stuff. Good, go over to the photo frame. Alright, now turn the floor lamp in this room off. And then back on? Now go to the left side so move it a little. Alright, touch the shelves. Should be math, but what if I'm doing something that doesn't involve math, but I have to be smart about it? That's it. In a real prison, the escape will now open. Return to the start and be taken back to your prison. Guy! Bring me. Oh. Oh.
And of course, now the table is gone and you can't begin the chain of events to escape. Here's a version where there are no bars, but you can't actually get to the well. And then a version where the inside of the prison is the outside and the outside is the inside. Let me just blink you real quick through a few more of these. I mean, he really unloaded on this prison idea. There's nearly a dozen of them. Personally, I think it's awful to watch this. To see a person basically unraveling through their work. And for what? Like, at what point do you just go, maybe there are game ideas other than this prison that I could be working on? But Coda doesn't have that voice telling you to stop. That particular mechanism of defense against yourself. Without it, you just spiral. And so he keeps going and going and going and going and going. And then he hits on something. And he likes it.
I am the prison.
And that's it. He's done. He stops making prisons. This is the very last version of the prison game that he created. And the reason I think it works is that the prison is not actually in it.
Coda's like Chris, who could spend 8 hours looking for a Dromad merchant, or spend like 5 hours doing the same Super Meat Boy level until I finish it. This made-up person, Coda, I do resonate with him a little bit. Hyperfixation is something I do. Am I gonna turn the Superman? We got a phone booth? Is there a ghost in here? I need a doll to give the ghost. Oh. It's me! I'm you from after escaping the prison. Get to search for that Meat Boy video. This is from before I made any kind of content for the internet. This is me on a couch at 4 in the morning doing the I want to be the guy level, just over and over and over and over again.
You're still talking to yourself. You know, all of these games so far are Coda talking to himself.
I was in reverse prison. Yeah, you remember the real life version. It was a room. No, Copper! You wanted the wheel to spin, you're gonna stay! You're gonna stay and watch the whole thing! You brought this on yourself! Was it a prison? A living room can be like a prison in a lot of ways. I think I'll find a way to change. This should have been a corrupted slice. Hey, the whole thing with that wheel, nothing is safe. You never know what could be good or bad. Personally, I like this. I don't think this is bad. Listen, you know, you can't know until you're out, but I promise it works. Hey, hate liking things is also a valid way to go about stuff. Yeah, it's interesting.
I can see why he considers this a fitting conclusion to the prison games. After all of the obsession and frustration, just to be told by someone you can trust that things are going to be okay.
What I want is I want a commentary of this game. Like, not a commentary that we're currently having, but a commentary about this commentary.
If Coda wanted to make a game
like, why
about
make up
talking to
Coda?
someone other than himself. To me, this environment is meant to represent Coda's puzzle, with the 2 doors on either side and a dark transitional space between.
The reaction's very different to 2015's. Well, my goodness, I'm glad as all heck that you showed up. Thought I might be having to clean this entire house all by myself, and right miserable that it would have been. Everyone knows lonesome hands make
You'll notice that the
lousy
quality of the art
hoes.
is a step up from previous games, including this new and improved chat system, which he started using from this point on. From here on out, he begins putting much more effort into the visual polish of his work.
And
this
lousy homes
particular
make
game took 2
home
months to
loners.
create as a result.
Something tells me you're gonna be fun to do this job with. Well, this place isn't gonna clean itself, as far as I know. I'll finish up here. In the meantime, go clean the table. Much nicer. That's the table I want to see. Now, would you please run into the bedroom and make the bed? You got it, buddy. Bed made. While you're in there, straighten out that rug a little bit. All right. All the little details matter. Been a long time since I've seen a house this messy. This line of work, you let go of those judgments pretty fast. May not be your apartment, but something in your life needs straightening up. You think you got nothing that needs cleaning? Be careful, because that means it's everything. At any rate, my place is just to see a bit of peace brought here. Speaking of which, the pillows on this couch are a wreck. Would you come out and straighten them up? You got it, buddy. Ah, that looks something nice. Looks like someone spilled a drink by the couch. Maybe mop that up. I feel compelled to share an incredibly cheesy personal insight. You okay with that? Make it especially cheesy. No. No, it was stupid. I'm sorry. Never mind. No, buddy. Hey, come on. Come on. Don't be so hard on yourself, all right? I'll clean the dishes. Last I checked, the tub needed a cleaning. How about you scrub it down as best you can? Are there still books scattered on the floor in the bedroom? Why don't you put them back on the shelf? Oh, you got it, buddy. You got it. Perfect. Now then, how about you come clean these dishes off the table?
Set of prison games, this house cleaning level almost feels like cleansing. It's the moment after a particularly difficult or traumatic experience.
These chores ever end?
Let it sit and digest inside of you, and eventually cohere into something.
Darling, let me tell you something. Whatever work you do, you have absolutely got to own it. Otherwise, it owns you. Why don't you be with the task at hand and leave the future chores to future you? Present you wants to smooth out the rug in the bedroom, believe it or not. Trust me on this one.
Actually, this was the only one that he called me up to ask me to come over and look at it. This was during a period of a few months where he was like grossly happy all the time. Just walked around with a constant smile on his face.
You son of a bitch. I just cleaned these things. Stop redirtying them. Earlier when I said I had a really cheesy thought, I was going to say that it occurs to me that one's house is a lot like one's soul. You take care of it, it takes care of you. Don't know why I feel so weird about saying that. I get it. That's a weird thing to say to someone you just met. But there's a bit of truth in it, no? Da da da. Anyway, so housekeeping. Let's keep doing that. Books. Would you please clean up the books? Thanks. When are we gonna have sex? This is the worst grinder matchup I've ever had.
I'm glad he found some peace.
Folks coming home to a messy couch can't have that. Oh, I got a question for you.
But, of course, it can't last. The music stops, your companion is gone, it's time to leave. The door at the top of the hill is now open as well. Again, you can't stay in the dark space for too long. You just can't. You have to keep moving.
The music
is
is
how
nice.
you stay alive. Which is the whole point of the puzzle doors, right? That sooner or later you have to pick up and move. I really thought that was the point of it.
Point was, this was all a secret virus to steal my personal information.
It's a bit goofy.
Why did you come here today? Was it to improve your life? Was it to get a better job? Was it to make your relationships more meaningful? No! You came here to become perfect. This workshop is going to teach you how to be perfect. I want your friends, the people in your life, to look at you and think, wow, this person's a better human being than I am. Right now, how do you think about that way in your life? Who do you know who is so well developed as a person that they make you feel disgusted with yourself? Compared to whom you feel useless, selfish, ungrateful. I intend to make you into that person. Perfection is within your grasp. And the question is not how do we do it, but how do we do it effortlessly. This is easy. It is so easy.
About halfway
it is
through the
so
game,
easy.
The perspective shifts. And you play as the teacher. And suddenly, you discover that your teacher is just as bigoted and afraid as you are. Oh, and also you can move around the classroom now.
It should not follow their dreams. Let me tell you right now, it isn't effortless. If it isn't effortless, it's not the answer. You should blame God for this. He's the one that made us spin the wheel. If you're torturing yourself trying to find the right solutions for your life, you're not doing it right. But drinking is not hurting my life. Do you understand you won't be happy until you love me? This is for you! Also, I'm developing a cyst. Ew, this is gross. Aha, just kidding. What if I'm not a good teacher? Oh, holy shit! You guys, something's coming out of the back of the room, look out! Everyone run! Run!
I felt pretty hard for this one. I feel like it's one of the most relatable experiences that you can have. To assume that some other person is perfect and totally fulfilled in every way, and completely miss all of the little flaws that make them painfully human. I think about this game a lot these days.
No, you said wrote, and now it's a
This one took a lot longer than all the others for Coda to make. It was 4 months.
What is the dog's name? Scooby.
That's twice as long as it took him to make any other game before this, and it's not like it's particularly complex.
Thanks, Scooby.
So I remember I found that a little strange at the time.
It could be worse. He could be playing Noida. Like, the wheel is often I play a game that is just torment. So it's really fun when there's a wheel game that, like, it's torment for the wheel requesters. And it's like, for me, it's like, oh, this is fun. I like this. Alright, the performance is beginning. Places, please. In this scene, you'll be playing as me. We're at a gathering of professionals. First, you'll start out leaning against this wall. Who is to be tormented? Alright, I'm leaning. Good, stay right there. Woman across the room, in this chair, is a professional photographer of animals. It's your dream to photograph animals professionally. This is your one chance to learn something from her, to gain something, to succeed. Go on, say something to her. Where's the bathroom? What are you doing? You're deflecting. You're not saying what's actually on your mind. Stop dancing around and have a conversation with this person. Do it again. I like you. No, that is not what I said to tell her at all. You're completely missing the tone of the conversation. I was reserved, but I knew what I wanted. I was confident. For some reason, it was just that one moment, but I was confident. Maybe it's that you need a better feel of the setting. There were a lot of people around us. I'll give you some props to work with. These cones that bounce when you touch them represent the people nearby. Now talk to her again. What are some sacrifices you've had to make? You're messing it all up again! You'll freak her out if the conversation gets that personal that quickly. Do you not realize how important this war was for me? I'll never get another opportunity like this. Everything was riding on this. I want to try something. Try stepping back from the stage. It's the lamppost again.
The game ends with this eerie premonition of what's going to happen next in Coda's life.
He was arrested for tax evasion.
Social anxiety, to fears of having to perform and having to chase success, the answer for Coda is to withdraw, to hide himself away. Which is what leads to scenarios like the stairs that slowed you down several games ago, where it just becomes harder and harder to access Coda's inner landscape because he keeps retreating. He just keeps backing away from possible connections to anyone other than himself. And to be honest, I didn't consider it very healthy when I first played this game. You know, it looked to me like he was trying to justify the idea of just disconnecting yourself from the world. And that wasn't what I wanted for him or for his games. Because I feel like a lot of his games are inviting me to connect with this person, to bring him closer.
At the end, do we find out that Coda was the friends we made along the way?
But what can you do? After this, Coda went off and took another 5 months to make a new game.
June 2010. Mobius Trip. To play this game properly, you must keep your eyes closed. But how am I supposed to read this? Oh, it's just a musical term the whole time. Help, I'm blind! Please, someone talk to me! Wait, what? Help, I'm blind!
You should probably open your eyes if you haven't already. It's pretty much impossible to solve otherwise. And there is a solution, by the way.
Don't let this be forever. There's a solution? Tell me the solution. Is it hiding here? Everyone here is fictional, even Davy. Gotta go, gotta go, gotta go, gotta go. Come on, go! Go, no! Oh. That's it, that's the truth.
Like I said, I was getting concerned. First off, he's never been this explicit in his work about exactly what he's thinking. So where's that coming from? But then even weirder, his work has potentially stopped being an outlet for him. Not like he's having trouble iterating on ideas,
Whisper.
but he literally just can't think of new ideas anymore. And in person, he was being a lot more distant than usual. Like, you know how sometimes a person will just deflect anything that you say in order to keep themselves disconnected all the time? It was that kind of thing. Here was the point in my relationship with Coda where I really started to wonder if he needed my help in some way.
The SS Whisper
His
Soft.
games are going to get more desperate from here on out. After this
More
game, it's
desperate.
almost 6 months before he finishes something new.
December 2010. No! Oh! Hello? Just stare at this tree. Where does Island come from? Got him again. The chamber I filled with secrets. I'm completely out of ideas. Making video games about not knowing how to make video games. There was a machine that kept me going, then it stopped. God, if there's one thing I wish I could, like, somehow find and make everyone watch, it's the worst student film I've ever seen called Come On. I wish I could find this and make everyone watch it.
If the last game featured Coda talking explicitly about his creative
Looking cool, Chris.
frustrations,
Thanks, Giggly.
this one turns it up to 11. Now, put yourself in my shoes playing this. Here's a
Going to end up here one way or another, right?
Of struggle, frustration, anxiety, depression, even. And yet, still, he keeps making games. He keeps throwing himself into the grinder even when he clearly doesn't have the energy for it anymore. Why? What is it for?
That fucking door!
From my perspective at the time, and just what I knew of him, this was a result of how
I've solved this
isolated
puzzle
he
before.
was. He was in his own little bubble, just sitting at his computer all day, not really showing these games to anyone, not releasing them onto the internet, and so he didn't have anyone outside of himself to connect with.
First, you have to open
no
the door.
Outlet to ground himself on.
The worst student film I saw was a guy shitting on the camera roll like a colorful 2000 iPhone Honor R. You having a stroke, Cop? Are you okay? Now you have to close the door. And now you open the door. Now you just press the switch here. Stroek. Worst student film I saw was called Come
Talk
On.
yourself out of loneliness. It doesn't work that way.
The
You can't
student
be
film.
the one writing both the questions and the answers. Then there's no movement. Then there's no circulation. If all
I
of
don't
your
wanna talk over my
anxieties are
buddy
being
here.
channeled into your work, then if the work ever fails, you have no backup and you're just going to crash.
Alright, so come on. Student film, it's a series of like hyper out of focus scenes, so like maybe just a camera in the forest, shaking, you can't make out anything, it's all out of focus. Or it's like the floor while someone's walking, or it's a crowd in a lunchroom. It's just out of focus stuff you cannot see, you can't make things out, right? And then, looping continuously over this out of focus footage is someone going, come on, 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 come on. 45 minutes of that. I was like crawling in my skin, desperate to escape. There's no machine here. Like I said, like I've watched a lot of student films. That was the one that like I was desperate to get out of that room. Making games is easy. Why did I feel so awful when I said that? It's a story about the frustration of hitting a mental wall. This is the writer's block experience, but for video games. I am constantly excited and enthusiastic about my work.
Seeing this game at the time that he made it, it looked really unhealthy to me.
Such a
I was
simple
watching him do this
solution.
to himself, and I hated it. I hated seeing him so trapped. It's like video games are not worth
I'm going to
this
vomit.
amount of suffering. This is someone I really cared about, and I used to get so much joy out of seeing him create. For him to suddenly become angry and frustrated like this, it was the worst thing for me. I don't know. This is what I felt at the time.
There is no shame, no fear, no guilt.
I wanted it to stop more than anything. I had never felt so rotten. I needed more than I had ever needed anything for this to stop.
He's
But it
talking just
didn't
like you
stop.
guys.
After finishing this one, Coda takes another 7 months and comes up with a new game.
2020, 2011, I could read The Machine. Hello, guard. Ma'am, glad to see you arrived safely. We've captured the machine, it's waiting for you now. You can begin the interrogation whenever you like. I intend to be quick. Very good, ma'am. Just be warned that someone called the press, so we might have a bit of attention on this one. Also, one more thing you should know about the machine. It calls itself Coda.
And
You
of course,
stopped.
it's the machine.
Your work was keeping us alive. Those people out there, can you imagine what pain you put them through? So here's what needs to happen. You need to go out there, you need to apologize to them. Think carefully. I know how to hurt you. Alright then, I'll speak for you to them. My friends! It falls on me to deliver bad news. Bad news, everyone! The machine refuses to admit that it deliberately hurt us. But this is not important. We're stronger than it thinks we are. Let us show it that we are not failures. Follow me! We'll destroy everything the machine has created! Yay! It's a good game! Oh, we have a gun! I gotta see what happens with this gun now. Thanks, audience.
Remember, you can click to fire the gun.
Yeah, but like, there's nothing to shoot at. Oh! Bring it all down! Bring it all down! I'll make sure you're known forever! Is that what you're scared of?
So now the work is becoming self-destructive. And I'll tell you, at the time that I first played this game, shortly after he made it, here's what I'm thinking to myself. I'm thinking that code is stuck in his own head, and that it's having a very negative effect on him, and that all he needs to do is just start showing his work to people, to get some actual feedback on his games. It might get him out of isolation. And so, as I'm thinking this, I realize that I could be the one to initiate it. Because it would never occur to Coda to start actively soliciting feedback, so what if I did it for him? If he could see the difference it would make to have more actual conversations with other human beings, would that bring him out of his mental spiral? Would it give him confidence in himself? Would it bring meaning back into his work?
Move it all. Goodbye, room. Oh, chewing the floor actually makes
So
the
I
floor
started
go away.
showing Coda's work to people. I took this one, and the islands which you just played.
Yes, the white screen
theater,
gun.
the notes, the house cleaning game, and some of the prison escape games. I brought them to people that I knew and trusted. I asked their opinions. And the great part is that they really loved his games. You know, the point of it all was just to give him some external reference point, but they genuinely loved his work. There was nothing for him to be afraid of.
Hello, machine. Put down your weapon.
Can you see why I felt like this was the right thing to do? Because it's the thing that I always feel like I need, to be told that my work is good, that I am good. When someone really connects with a thing that I've made, when they see themselves purely in my work, there's nothing that feels better. And I got to give that very same feeling to my friend. I did something... I really felt like I'd done something good, like I was a good person. I felt like there was a friend who was in trouble and was
I'll
unhappy
just keep shooting.
and maybe didn't like themselves, and I could fix it. If I could give him this gift, maybe I could fix the problem. When they told me how much they enjoyed his games, it was the best feeling. It was the absolute best feeling. It made me feel so happy. So beautifully, beautifully happy.
Oh, vile instinct. That's when I got sued by Coda.
So anyway, Coda finishes this game, and then really he just kind of takes off for a while. So this is June of 2011, and I didn't hear anything from him for several weeks, I
Big
guess.
violent sting energy.
And so out of nowhere, one day I get an email, and it's got a private link to a new game of Coda's. This one is called The Tower, and to my knowledge, it's the last game that Coda ever made. So let's take a look.
If this is the last game Coda ever met, I imagine this is the end of the game then. So we might as well see this through.
And this is where I have trouble saying anything meaningful about Coda's work.
We
Because
don't
more
have
than anything
to.
else, The Tower just feels distant. It feels like it's trying to distance itself from the world. It's a very cold game.
We gotta see the denouement. We gotta understand. And apparently there's something controversial about this end.
This room actually has a maze in it. Except that all the walls of the maze are invisible. And then
What?
every time you touch one of the walls, there's this awful flashing and noise, so the experience is really miserable. The game goes beyond not being meant to be played, it actually seems to despise the player for trying to play it at all. But I do want to show you the rest of the levels, so when you're ready to continue, press enter and I'll put a bridge over the maze.
Thank you. The only thing I can easily agree with. Controversial 2015, not that controversial.
And to be
Yeah.
fair, it's not like this is the first game that's needed some modification to be playable. Like the house cleaning game. You know, that one used to actually
The
loop
white
cleaning
screens
chores
and
you
flashing
just
has
cleaned the house
hurt me
forever.
too.
I had to cut it off so that you could exit the house and the game would actually end. But that game had an idea that it was actually trying to communicate. What's the deeper idea behind the invisible maze? The only way past this challenge is to randomly guess the 6-digit code. Like the invisible maze, it's frustrating to me, because it's the opposite of everything else that Coda has made. It doesn't encourage thought or engagement. It doesn't ask anything of me, except a lot of my time. If I could have reached him during this time, then maybe I could have asked him, but I couldn't. I still don't really understand why this is here. I'll put the code on the ground for you here, though, so that we can move on.
15, 16, 7. What? Oh, God. 1, 5. 1, 6. 1, 7. If I could find the old Hammer editor.
The switch to open this door is actually on the other side of the door, meaning that it's literally impossible to solve from this side.
You made a bad game,
Even
Coda.
if you somehow brute forced your way through the first 2 challenges, and you got to this point, there's actually just no way to progress. And it's scary for me, the idea of Coda cutting himself off entirely. Just saying, you know, that's it, that's the end of the
There it
conversation.
was, you saw
not
it.
Giving me any way to fix
You got to
the
see
problem.
Garbage Day.
I feel like a failure, I guess, when I can't fix the problem. But I can open this door for you, so let me do that.
Yeah, let me out.
Was I a failure for not
Garbage
understanding this
Day!
game? I mean, I don't know why I would be. It's not like everything needs to have a solution, but I feel it somehow. I feel like I failed, and I don't understand why. I remember, it's June of 2011.
Okay.
I'm playing this for the very first time, and as I'm playing, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know this person. I have no idea who this person is. It wasn't the guy I knew, it wasn't my friend. I had come to so many conclusions from looking at all of his work up to this point, and then suddenly none of them... I had been trying to, though. That was the thing. For years I was trying to get to know him, to understand who he actually was and what he stood for. I asked him so many times to please just tell me what his games mean to him.
This is called the Beginner's Guide.
I asked him please to tell me what the 3 dots mean. And
This game has made people irrationally angry in chat. It's from the writer of the Stanley Parable.
That if I could have connected with him,
No,
if I
no,
could
not
somehow
irrational. I
make
could
his work
predict
my
your
own, that I
text.
would finally be once and for all happy. It was that I needed to see
There we go,
myself in
rationally
someone
angry.
else. I needed to be someone other than me. But he stopped and left. And it felt somehow like I had failed.
Today the wheel spin made everyone but me suffer.
Where did I screw up?
God, I did nothing wrong. Dear Davey, thank you for your
I'm
interest
the
in my
reason
games.
that
I
you
need to
stopped
ask you not to
making
speak to
games,
me
aren't I?
anymore.
It's because
Aw.
of what I did. I poisoned it for you. I don't think I ever told you this, but when I took your work and I was showing it to people, it actually felt... it felt as though I were responsible for something important and valuable.
You so infected
And
my personal
the
space that it's
people who
possible I
played
didn't
them,
begin to plant solution my
They
games
treated
somewhere
me like I was
in
important.
between games.
They really listened and cared about what I had to say. Even though I was showing your work, I felt good about myself. Finally. For a moment, while I had that, I liked myself.
Number 1, personal space. Number 2, personal space.
And then you stopped. And I didn't have anything left to show people. I just had to be with myself.
So folks,
and as
like,
soon as that happened, there was no feeling at all. Nothing. Less than nothing.
so when this first came out, Juraxium, people actually thought he had A, thought this was real, and B, were angry at this man for for hurting this imaginary person. Some people thought it was real. I mean, at the very beginning, I was pretty sure too, because it felt like, again, he's like, yeah, made it with the Hammer editor in Source. It was a Counter-Strike map. I'm like, oh, I made one of those. But then the narrative kept going and going. I hope that one day it clicks and you make peace with this thing you're
I'm
wrestling.
afraid that I did something really stupid because I don't like myself.
Don't say anything. I know how to solve this puzzle. Oh no. There's no other switch.
That's why I'm releasing this collection of your work. Is because
You
I
didn't learn
haven't
any
been able
lessons!
to find any other way to reach you. I've tried everything. And so a part of me has hope that if I put this compilation out into the world, and if I put my name on it, that maybe enough people will play it so that it'll find its way to you, so that I can tell you that I'm sorry. I know I screwed up. If I apologize to you truly and deeply, will you start making games again?
My apology to you is
Please.
doing that
I
thing
need
that
to
you were
feel
angry
okay with
about,
myself
but on a
again.
higher
I
level.
always felt okay as long as I had your work to see myself in. I mean, is something wrong with me? Because I know that I did an awful thing, and I'm doing it again right now. Like, I'm showing people your work, but I can't stop myself from doing it. That's how badly I need to feel something
Phil
again.
Fish
Like I'm
touch
an
it.
addict. There has to be something wrong with me. Can I apologize? What if I tell you I was wrong? Will that work? Will that fix it? I don't know. I don't think it will, but there's nothing else that I can do. Just tell me what you want. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please, start making games again. Please help me. Please give me some of whatever it is that makes you complete. I want whatever that wholeness is that you just summoned out of nothing and you put into your work. You were complete in some way that I never was.
Walls are
I want to
closing.
know I want to know how to be a good person. I want to know how not to hate myself. Please. I'm fading. And all I want is to know that I'm going to be okay.
This is the writer of the Stanley Parable, strawmanning his critics, which is more valid than strawmanning makes it sound. Oh. Go to got him. I feel like this is a game that Andrew would actually rather enjoy.
More love, more praise, more people telling me that I'm good. Always more. It's like a disease.
Can the guy who made Fez make a game where he's just angry at his critics? Getting on a train, leaving this town. No, Phil Fish cannot.
Solution.
He hasn't done anything since he swore off ever making Fez 2, right? Like, he just kind of disappeared.
I guess if someone had told me ahead of time that he just
Yeah, like he just
making prison games,
stopped making video games
maybe I
because
wouldn't
people
have
on
thought he was
Twitter
so
said mean
desperate.
things.
I wouldn't have told
He
so
took
many
the high
people that
road.
he was depressed. Maybe he just likes
Yeah,
making
Fez was
prisons.
good. But, like, you can't talk about pretentious video game developers without bringing up Phil Fish. And the story of Fez and the lack of Fez 2.
Even now, the disease is telling me to stop. Don't show people what a shitty person you are. They'll hate you.
If that tower was Coda's last game, where the hell am I right now, huh?
If I knew that my life depended on finding something to be driven by other than validation, what would that even be? It's strange, but the thought of not being driven by external validation is unthinkable. Like,
No, drugs,
I
Davey,
actually
drugs.
cannot conceive of what that would be like.
Oh. Well, it wasn't a white screen in there. Okay.
What now?
I got the glasses next to me just in case.
I think I need to go.
To
And
Mars.
I'm sorry, because I know that I said that I would be here and I would walk you through this, but I'm starting to feel like I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot that I need to make up for. And so I'm just gonna... Okay.
Go on, get out of here, Davey! There is no light. It's only getting darker. Go on, get! Get, Davey! No wonder. Dang. I was like, wait, if this is really on the Source 1 engine, could I hit tilde and type in some cheat codes? But no. I cannot. Get him! What's the speedrun record for this? Oh my god, do you think there's a speedrun category for this game? Guys, I'm gonna become a professional speedrunner of the beginner's guide. We have to start learning some of the strats. If we can get a knife, you run faster with a knife in this engine. "44 minutes, 58 seconds. My god. Come on, man, we can do it. We could beat 44:58. Now, as compulsive and hyperfixating as I could be, speedrunning is not for me. Having to replay the same thing over and over again and never really feeling like I'm making progress will drive me insane. I can redo a thing over and over and over again with the idea of like, yes, the goal is in sight. But speedrunning will forever be, like, I have to always be improving my time. I can't live that life. You're not tricording, you noob. Did we do it? Did we beat the game? Ace upon the maze. I'm still working on my Mario 64 speedrun, but it's a Chaos Mario 64 speedrun. At 120 stars. The time's gonna be like 3 years. Oh, we're turning into the logo for Christopher Nolan's production company, Syncope or whatever it's called. Eventually, this will hurt the bitrate.
Turn back.
Yeah, woo!
Back
Woo! Hi, I'm Christopher Nolan.
You said,
Play that sad music. What did we learn today? That it's easier to just flip the bird to your critics? I hope whatever we learned is that the wheel is dangerous and you shouldn't take the wheel lightly. The wheel is to be feared!
But I know that you're strong.
This fucking music.
So turn back.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Turn back.
At any moment, something like this could be in the wheel. And I'll have a great time. It'll just be me and Tom being pretentious assholes having a good time. Alright, that was the beginner's guide. Would you guys like to run around as a horrible goblin in Street Fighter, or would you like to run around as a horrible goblin in Tears of the Kingdom? Now that you're at the end, Hypnospace Outlaw. It's a game with vibes you will enjoy. I've heard I would like Hypnospace Outlaw. Some people are gonna get real threatening potatoes in their mailboxes.